Hey everybody, Pastor Matt here. Another question that I get asked every so often, and it may not be a you asked for it that is actually coming from you as a church member, although you may have been thinking about it. But these are questions that we get when people are inquiring about our church and they're wanting to know a little bit about it. The number one question that we get for people that aren't involved with our church yet but are inquiring about our church is this: what's the dress code? Now, I say that's the number one question. The number one question that we get from church people who phone us that know we're a Baptist church is usually, what version of the Bible do you preach from? Do you still have Sunday school? And it's usually a wanting to know if we have some of the familiar programs that they're used to. But if you are an unbeliever or you're someone that may not be part of our church and you may not have grown up in church and all, the number one question you're going to ask is about the dress code. And usually there's something that's deeper about that. They want to make sure that they'll be able to find a place where they can belong, where they can believe what we believe and belong to a group of people. And for some reason, dress ends up mattering. Now, I grew up in a church, and I grew up in a setting where it was every Sunday it was suit and tie or it was coat and tie because those were your church clothes. That's what you wore. That was the culture of most of the churches that I ended up growing up in. In fact, when I came to ARBC, some of you may remember this. I was advised it was coat and tie. And then I went through a spell where it was bow tie. That was 2015, 2016. I started wearing a bow tie, and of course that was interesting. But you may have noticed of late, and some of you have made comments of late, and some of you have been very positive. Many of you have been very, very positive about it. Some have been questioning about it. I want to let you know my rationale behind some of this and just some things that we need to be thinking about. Because usually I hear two rationales behind why you should do this. Okay, why you should wear a coat and tie and dress to the nines when it comes to church. Number one is respect, honor. You would not go before the Queen of England or the President of the United States without a coat and tie. So why would you do that before the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords? And I totally respect that, and I totally get that. That's why you are going. That's a rationale behind why people think you should dress like this for church. But one of the things that really helped change my mind on this and the thing I'm going to be telling you in just a second, one of the things that changed my mind on it was actually an exchange between Bob Russell, who's the longtime pastor of Southeast Christian Church in Louisville, Kentucky, and his associate. One of the things that Bob Russell always insisted on is that when you preach, it was coat and tie. And Kyle Adamman tried it for a while. He was in his 20s, early 30s, and he just said it was something he couldn't do. And Bob Russell was like, well, and then he gave the rationale. For the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, why would you not dress like that if you would dress like that before a president or the Queen of England? And Kyle said this. Kyle's like, but he's my dad. He's my father. And I want to come to my father's house, and I want to be with my father, and I want to dress like I would with my father. Now, we're not talking about flip-flops and shorts and T-shirts and all that. And there's some churches, that's their culture and all that. But the idea behind it is, why do we always look at him as our king and we never look at him as our father? Those are two very, very different relationships, and both are in play. But those are very, very different relationships. So I believe that there's an aspect of that to where our fathers don't always expect us. Maybe some fathers do, but not all of our fathers expect us to dress to the nines when we're in their presence. Second of all, I had someone very close to me say, you need to dress like a professional. Professional. So you see sports announcers, you see news announcers and all that. That's the culture there, is that they are to dress like a professional. And that's what I should be. I don't know where that came from. I don't know the understanding behind it. Maybe it was just leveraging a mindset to where, that would continue to perpetuate a culture of you have to dress your absolute best and have church clothes in order to come to church. But I'm not a professional. I am a missionary. that is working in a context to reach my community for Jesus. And there is something about when you dress in a certain way, there is a distance that you have between how you're dressed and the person that you're talking to. And so the one who is coming in, who has not been in church world, they see me dressed in a suit and tie. Unless they grew up in church world, there is going to be that distance that, frankly, I don't want. We have enough obstacles in our way to try to reach people for Christ. Why add that one? And so now, again, we're not in the South. We're in Denver, Colorado. And by that, there is a more of a casual aspect and an understanding behind that. But I want to do everything that I can to connect as well as I can, both in my speech, in my character, and how I dress, everything about me to reach others for Christ and not have that barrier. Now you're saying, well, why are we? So you're basically looking at the one who is not coming to church. Well, what about the people who are in church? I expect the people who are in church to basically understand that our goal is to strengthen people in Christ, but also to share the gospel with others in Christ that are outside of Christ, rather. And again, we want to remove every obstacle that we possibly can in order to be able to reach them. The preaching of the word, the discipline of the church discipline, the evangelism, discipleship, and the ordinances of baptism and Lord's Supper, those are the things that are the non-negotiables. Everything else is working to the context that you're in to try to reach people for Christ and taking down obstacles. That's my thought on the matter. Now, some of you, if you have questions, I hope that you will take time to send me an email or give me a call. And I pray that you're civil. It's amazing that whenever we're talking about little changes in the church or changes in conduct or deportment like this, when we begin to think about church, for some, that brings up a little bit of concern that may be expressed in a certain way. And I'm just going to ask you to make sure that you're expressing it in a way that is civil and that the conduct is appropriate when we talk about this. But God placed me here as a missionary to Denver. He placed me as a missionary here to help you to be equipped in the things of the Lord, but he also is there to help you to be equipped to reach other people in the name of Christ. And that's the culture that we need to be moving forward with and not throwing up obstacles that aren't needed just because they may make us feel a little bit more secure. We want to make sure that we're doing all we can to reach others for Christ and to make much of Jesus. Yeah, love to hear from you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.